I've seen and repaired a lot of rotten wood, rotten windows in my career, but I've never seen anything like this. This customer had 8 rotten Pella windows, and every single one is rotted in the exact same spot. So in today's video, we're not only going to take these apart to try and figure out how and why they rotted, but I'm also going to show you how I fixed them. So hopefully, instead of having to replace the entire window, he can get away with just fixing the sashes, which is what I did. And there's going to be a reason why this fix was a lot harder than I thought it was initially. So to start, I'm going to obviously cut out the rotted sections. The bottom of the sash is almost fully rotted on both of them, but it also goes up the vertical stiles of that sash as well. What I decided to do was cut it so that it's a lap joint. So when I put my replacement piece on, I have a lot of contact points for glue, and the joint itself will add structure to the frame. I'm not relying on just a bulky butt joint to hold it together. The way I started doing this was, you could see from the top side, which is going to be facing out, I wanted the smallest joint, and then on the back side I'm going to cut into the frame as well, and they're going to meet not in the middle. You could see I'm removing more from the back side because you do have the advantage of it being protected inside of the house. So I'm using just an oscillating tool, and I used a piece of plywood to help create as straight a line as possible, and I just cut through the back side, the front side, and then I can meet in the middle. Now when I originally started this, I thought the hardest part of this was going to be getting this frame apart without breaking the glass, because the most fragile part of the glass is going to be the edges, and I'm going to be getting tools very close to that. But the wood was compromised enough at the bottom. You'll see it was kind of easy to pull these apart once I had my cuts. So you see I'm coming up from the back side. Where I decided my depth is going to be, I did a straight horizontal and then one across the top. Now there was some give on the verticals at this point, but they weren't completely pulling apart because there are going to be tenons at the bottom of this window frame. So I cut through those tenons and I can knock off the bottom part of the sash. And once I had the bottom part off, then the sides fell away. Now at this point it became pretty obvious, and I know this is a problem with Pella windows because I've fixed them in the past. And that is essentially what happened here. I could see that there was older glazing compound holding the windows in place. You could see that that's what that gray stuff is on the wood and also on the frame, but there's no caulk between the glass and the wooden frame. So over time, with gravity, all the water is going to run down the window, collect in that bottom part of the sash. This wood is yellow pine, which when it's pressure treated is very sturdy and gives you a lot of longevity, but when it's not pressure treated, it's not a great lumber to resist rot, so it just expedited the whole rotting process. That is what my frame taken apart looks like. Obviously I took it up enough to get to clean lumber. That is what my lap joint looks like, and then I could go about remaking these parts. Now this is the part that I assumed it looked just like a beaded round over, and I could have cut it very easily on the router table, but it was not. It was off by just a little bit, and it took me a little bit of internet search to realize that these companies use proprietary moldings. Personally, I think one of the reasons they do that is so you cannot easily fix them, because if you could just use the router, this would be a fairly easy fix, but you can't. And the reason is where the muttons and the mullions line with the frame, you're going to have huge gaps if that profile isn't perfect. What I decided to do, which is a little bit of a longer fix, was to create my own scratch stock out of an old card scraper. Making this wasn't too bad. I just copied the profile I needed. I was able to remove the bulk of the material with an angle grinder, and then I can get right up to my marks with a file. So the profile itself is not super complicated. I can understand having a proprietary molding if it's a very unique and detailed molding, but it's not. It's just a slightly different than some of the over-the-counter router bits you can get. I tested this on a piece of poplar before I made a bunch of stock, and it matched the profile. It would fit in between where I all needed the pieces to fit, so I would get no gaps. and then I could start milling up the lumber that I was going to use to fix this. To fix this, I'm using Western red cedar. It's a more expensive grade of lumber, but especially for something where you already have a problem with water, this will resist rot and water damage a lot better than yellow pine. And I'm going to be using Total Boat Epoxy, not a sponsored post, it's just one of the ones I use as my glue. I don't prefer epoxy in general for anything, but for exterior glue, I do find it to be a superior product. Now, the thickness of these frames was almost 2 inches, so I did have to laminate 2 pieces together. I let that set up overnight. I could come in the shop the next day, rip my 2 sides clean, and then cut these into strips. So roughly the material was a little over 1.5 inches thick and then almost 2 inches wide, and I'm going to have to recreate all of the pieces on the molding. So you can see at this point I'm now ripping it into 3 pieces. The customer has, I believe, a total of 8 windows, but I've never done a repair quite like this, so we agreed to send 2. Like I said, I was very nervous about breaking the glass, taking them apart, and if the 2 were successful, I believe I'm fixing the other windows, which all have the same damaged spots. And then I could just plane it down to the thickness of the piece. The nice thing about having the windows to work off of is I have a clean enough piece. I'm going to use it for all of my dimensions. At this point, I could go and start adding all of the detailing to it. There's a big dado in the middle, obviously for the glass. I decided to cut that before I did my molding profile, because the molding profile, especially on cedar, which isn't super dense, I didn't want any little flanges to break off when I was cutting the dado. So order of operations was fairly important in recreating these moldings, and I decided to cut that initial dado first. Like I said, having the piece to work off of made it quite easy. I would just line up the piece on my saw. Once it fit on there, I could send all of my stock through. There's also another little thinner, deeper dado that goes through the middle portion, and I cut that as well. Now on the bottom, there's a slight indent. It's maybe 1/16 of an inch, and there's a rabbet on the back as well. I decided to cut that indent first because it would be a much more dangerous cut to do after the rabbet is done. So with the 2 dados done, I then decided to start on the moldings. Now when I did the test piece on the poplar, which is a little bit of a harder lumber, it did take quite a bit of muscle power to remove it, and it did take longer than I thought it would. So I went through and removed as much material as I could on the table saw before I went about using that scratch stock, just to save time. So I marked where the moldings were on the piece, and then I just went through and I made two small curves, which kind of designate the top and bottom flanges, and luckily the molding is the same on both sides. So once I made these cuts, I could spin the pieces around and cut all of them the same way, and then that's what I'm left with. And then I'm going to cut a very shallow angle. I think it was about 5 degrees. I used the bevel gauge in order to get the exact angle, and then I could remove that material. I was extremely happy I did this because, as you'll see in the next clip, using that cardstock, it worked really well. I really got very close to that molding, arguably exactly right, but it did take a lot of time to do it, and that was the part of this process that was a little bit of a surprise, because I assumed I'd just be able to buy a router bit and cut it. And I know why companies don't do this, but if they just made replacement stock pieces that you can buy, a repair on windows like this I could have done all 8 of them in an afternoon. It would have been so much easier. So like I said, I had practiced with the scratch stock, and it did take some time, and it was also pretty hard on my fingers. So I just embedded this in a piece of plywood, which also gave me somewhat of a fence to ride on the top of the frame to make it more accurate. I quickly threw together some scrap pieces of wood to create a cradle which would hold it in place. I could clamp it from the top and go about recreating that frame. When I initially started doing this, I was trying to do it quite gingerly because cedar is a soft wood, and I quickly found that the harder and more force you put on the scraper, the better it worked. I also do not do this method a lot, so I'm sure that it's not sharpened exactly the way it should be. But you could see with some muscle power, eventually I did get it down to the molding. But like I said, all three of these probably took me about 3 hours to do. And that's also because it is on both sides. And these pieces are about 3 feet long, so about 9 feet, but double-sided of that material to make. Once that was done on the back side, there is a roundover on these, so pretty simple. I could use an 1/8 inch roundover bit to mimic that. And then there's also a kerf, which is where the weather stripping goes. So that was also pretty self-explanatory. I could line up the old molding on the table saw and add that kerf. Then the back side of this is fully removed, and that roundover in the front is most likely what, because these are crank windows, overhangs the outside of the weather stripping. So I could just line that up, and now that I have the kerf cut, I could easily just remove that material, creating that rabbit in the back with one cut. You could see, minus the moldings, it was really just a matter of matching the cuts on the piece I had to the new stock and sending it through the machine. There's also a small indent underneath that roundover, which I added as well. I did that at the end, and I just used my sacrificial fence in order to get that slight indent. And that is essentially my finished molding at this point. I can now start attaching it to the windows. So like I said, if the company provided these replacement parts, you could start essentially at this part of the process, and it's even a little easier because they'll be able to have essentially the cope and stick done for you. So all I did was line this up to the window frame. I basically just have to do reverse operations of how I removed the initial rotten pieces and just remove this lap joint on the back. Now, because this stock took so long to make, I really kind of snuck up on these cuts. Usually I would just eye it and try it first go if I had disposable materials, but I did not want to have to remake these moldings for these first 2 windows. So the depth, I definitely erred on the cautious side, and you'll see I didn't remove enough at first. I had to sneak back to the saw and take a little bit more off, but I much rather would have done that than to miscut it the first time. So you can see it's a little proud on the top, so I just lowered the blade a little bit more, and then eventually this slides into place, and it looked pretty good on the side. Now this is sitting on top of foam, so you'll notice it might not line up at first, but in real life it was a nice molding match. It was a nice width and depth match, a nice side match as well. And I left these long because you'll see how I have to add the bottom piece. Now, like I said, because I had to make the molding, I could technically have made the negative to remove on the inside, which is what a cope and stick router bit set would do for you, but I don't have that option. I didn't want to do another scratch stock because its end grain would have come apart pretty hard. So I've done this before with making windows, and basically when you join them together, you just have to put a 45 where they're going to meet, and then also remove that molding so that when they meet up, you don't have to worry about competing with the moldings hitting each other. So on this, I technically had a dado that the material could stick into, but I wanted the joinery to be a little bit deeper, so I also added about another 1/2 inch tenon into that joint so that when I cut the pieces that mate into it, it'll just be a sturdier connection. So that's all I did with the mortise machine. I made a mortise to take a deeper tenon. And then the pieces on the bottom, all I had to do was, the tenon is about 1 inch at this point, so I cut these in order to fit in between my frames. I measured in between the frame because it's a Pella window. The sizes are pretty standard. These were like 17 and I think 1/2 wide. And then I could just add that tenon. Now once again, these will have to get the angled miter on the corner, and I just clamped a 45. Really quick way to do it. You can make a jig, but I just clamped a 45 on there and removed that material. And now you can see how those 2 edges are going to meet with the 2 45s. The molding's removed, so it's the two pieces line up, and I could just slide these off and then put them back on. Now, like I said, I left these long because it would be much easier to trim them afterwards, but the tenons are going to be a nice sturdy joint, and then once it's together, I could just slide the whole frame back in place, and that is essentially my fix. I was pretty happy with how everything lined up. You could see on the side that my lap joint lines up nicely. It's going to give me a lot of gluing surface, and the joint on the front side of the window, which is obviously going to see all the weather, is pretty minimal. Once again, I'm using epoxy. I'm going to use it in all of my joinery methods for exterior work. It's nice. I could put it on there. It will soak up into the end grain. It will soak up into the joint, and then that is how I'm going to attach that frame. It's also a very good void filling glue, which is nice. And then inside the frame, I'm using an RTV, which is a room temperature vulcanizing 100% silicone caulking, which is designed for windows. And I'm just going to really gob that on. My goal is to not put too much in here so that the joint won't close, but I essentially want it to actually bleed out onto the windows a little bit, and that is going to tell me that I have a perfect seal between those windows and the frame, because obviously we do not want the same problem as before. And then also on top of it, I will add caulk, and that should help prevent any water getting between that glass and the frame. Clamping was also important in order of operations. I did my vertical clamps first, then clamped my horizontals, and then the lap joint clamps. And this is a slow set epoxy, so I let it set up overnight. And then the next day after everything's set up, I could come and on the radial arm saw, I'm going to trim off the bottoms. And then the problem with this is that I then have to recreate the bottom to match the little groove and remove some more material to create the overhang on the front. Once again, not to beat a dead horse, but would have been such an easier project if you could just buy replacement pieces for these windows. And then recreate the kerf for the weather stripping on the bottom. Now I did patch these in a couple spots with epoxy, and then I sanded off the epoxy drip out from the night before, and then I put a coat of primer on them. I still have a little more detailed sanding work to do on these, but I like to put primer on stuff because it usually kind of highlights the areas you need to fix. And the last thing I'm going to do for these, which is not going to be in the video, is put topside silicone paintable caulk around the windows to help keep all of that water out. But that is essentially what that fix looks like.